growing up,
Yeah.
fighting,
he showed a lot of heart. Yeah.
He showed grit. He
Yeah.
showed determination.
Yeah.
He showed a lot. But then when you look at it, it's our people that's coming at him and slandering him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you look at Terence Crawford, it's our people that's coming slandering me.
Yeah.
That's trying to belittle me.
Yeah.
When you look at Shakur Stevenson,
Yeah.
because he boxed his way through a fight.
Yeah.
It's our people that's criticizing him when it's called boxing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying that they not holding the same standards
Yeah.
for certain fighters.
Yeah.
Now, say if Tank have a bad performance,
Yeah.
they gonna be on his neck.
Yeah.
If Tank lose,
Yeah.
they gonna be on his neck.
Yeah.
But yet and still, these other fighters, you know what I mean, can lose, and everybody just like, oh, it was a bad night. Oh, well, they still on top of their game.
Yeah. Well,
I just never understood why black media always give so much criticism to the black fighter. I never understood that.
So the myth, the legend, the one and only, boxing pound for pound number one, Terence Bud Crawford, came out dissing Errol Spence once again by stating that Errol Spence is not a Hall of Famer. Here is exactly what the pound for pound king said and why he believes that's the case. Check it out.
I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. You know, like everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. You know.
Do you not think Spence will be in the Hall of Fame?
Right now? No, how?
Yeah, he's right, dude. He's right.
How? You know,
You would
like
be,
he fought in one division. You know,
never unified the belts.
He unified.
He did unify.
You know,
IBF.
he unified.
WBA, was it?
He
No,
had
but-
three.
Yeah.
He had the
Yeah,
WBC,
but he didn't unify all four. He
WBA,
wasn't
IBF.
undisputed.
Huh?
He
no,
wasn't
no,
undisputed.
He wasn't. No, but what I'm saying is, they already called him a weight bully, right? He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. You know, he beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
Like I said, you know what I mean? That's a good win. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him or, you know,
No, I understand
things
what you're
like
saying.
that. But
Right.
I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got right now.
Now I gotta call a spade, and Bud is tripping. He ain't just tripping, he's tripping, slipping, and sliding. I mean, the reasons that Crawford gave made no sense. One of them was Errol Spence is only a champion in one division. But then later on, Crawford said the one division champion Hagler is one of the top 5 greatest fighters of all time over Manny Pacquiao, who is a 6th division world champion. Old media has brainwashed the public to believing that Manny Pacquiao is an 8th division world champion, which that's not the case. That's an absolute lie. Manny Pacquiao is a 6th division world champion. That's still a great accomplishment, but you can't lie about stats and statistics. That's what old media does. I already made a video on that, exposing the lies of old media for years, lied about Manny Pacquiao being an 8th division world champion. But the point I'm making here is Crawford believes Hagler, who is a 1 division champion, is an all-time great. Forget about the Hall of Fame. He believes that Hagler is top 5, one of the greatest fighters of all time, and he's only a 1 division champion.
And what about the 5 greatest of all time, pound for pound?
Ooh, you got Sugar Ray Robinson, you got Sugar Ray Leonard, you got Floyd Mayweather, you got Marvin Hagler, you got Roberto Duran. That's 5 for you right there.
Really? You put Hagler up there like that?
Yeah, that dude was great. And it's so many more. Like you got Sweet Pea, you got you got so many other fighters.
But you don't put Manny up there. That's surprising to me, honestly.
It's a reason why he's not up there.
But
You
why?
should know that reason.
I want to hear from you. We talking to you.
Thank you.
Know from you.
Thank you. Come on, man.
It's your interview.
Man, Manny's a generational talented fighter. Like, he's accomplished what no other fighter is ever going to accomplish.
Yeah.
Again, but I don't feel like, he did it on his own. That's me personally, because for the simple fact, when Floyd made it a point for him to do the blood test, he didn't want to do the blood test. But then when he did do the blood test, he haven't got a knockout since.
Godly, man, that shit breaks my heart, dude.
But he was aging though.
Listen, one thing for certain, two things for sure.
Fact.
What's the last thing that leave you? Is the power.
Right.
You may lose speed, you may lose athleticism, but that power gonna still be there. Look at George Foreman.
Right. That's last thing
It's very telling how Triple C had no problem with Duran being on the list and didn't question it. But he had a problem with Hagler being on the list, who beat Duran and also beat Hearn. But Duran, on the other hand, lost to all of the Fabulous Four fighters. In fact, he even lost to the Fabulous Five. Benitez also beat him. But let's get back to Crawford. So how come when it comes to Errol Spence, being a one-division champion disqualifies him from being a Hall of Famer? But when it comes to Hagler, being a one-division champion doesn't disqualify him from not just being a Hall of Famer, but being an all-time great. That's a big difference between the two. A Hall of Famer at this day and age is pretty much nothing. Rocky is in the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if Crawford is informed on the fact that there are plenty of fighters in the Hall of Fame that are not just a one-division champion, but champions that didn't fight anyone, or champions that became a champion and lost the title the next day. It's not just the fact that they didn't beat anyone, it's also the fact that they lost to no one. They had a short run and lost the title the next day. Some way, somehow, plenty of fighters like that still entered the Hall of Fame. Therefore, the Hall of Fame have been watered down for a very long time. So when Crawford is speaking on Errol Spence not being a Hall of Famer, he is tripping, slipping and sliding when it comes to the Hall of Fame standards. Errol Spence is one of the greatest of all time when it comes to the Hall of Fame compared to the fighters that are in the Hall of Fame. You see, it's one thing if Crawford said, Errol Spence is not one of the greatest fighters of all time, but he's a legend and he's a Hall of Famer. Then I could dig that. But to say Errol Spence, who beat fighters that are going to be future Hall of Famers, like Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and who knows, Kell Brook and Ugas, who beat Manny Pacquiao, can easily be future Hall of Famers. So to say that Errol Spence is not a Hall of Famer doesn't add up. The math is not mathing. We talking about Errol Spence fought these guys and beat these guys back to back to back on pay-per-view. That's a Hall of Fame career. What are you talking about, bud? What trips me out is that Crawford promoted the Errol Spence fight as the fight of the decade. How the hell were you in the fight of the decade if Errol Spence is not a Hall of Famer? What? The reason why the fight between Crawford and Errol Spence was the fight of the decade and promoted as such was because both Crawford and Errol Spence were pound-for-pound fighters, top 5 their entire career. Obviously, Crawford was and still the pound-for-pound king, but Errol Spence was top 5, top 3 pound-for-pound his entire career from the time he beat Kell Brook and Mikey Garcia till the time he fought Crawford. And the whole time between that, where he took tough challenges one after another, no tune-up. Regardless if he was in an accident, an eye injury, so on and so forth. Man, I never seen anyone discredit his own self the way Crawford be doing. Usually once a fighter beats someone, they will actually give them their credit instead of discrediting them, because by doing so, they only going to discredit themselves since they beat them. And that's the best win on Crawford's resume. Yes, Crawford's resume is full with Sean Porter, Kell Brook, but these guys Errol Spence beat too. Yeah, he fought Jeff Horn, Postal, and so on and so forth, from Amir Khan to Mean Machine, Gamboa, but none of these guys have a better resume than Errol Spence. I don't know if Crawford is doing this as a payback to Errol Spence fans since he doesn't like them, or because Errol Spence was doing the same thing to him leading up to his fight, but that's old news. What's even more crazy to me that Crawford was on this exact episode talking about how fighters in boxing, they can lose and all of a sudden they are a bum. But in the UFC, fighters lose all the time and they don't get viewed as bums and still get support. But that's exactly what Crawford is doing to Errol Spence. The same thing he complains about fans do in boxing is what he's doing to Errol Spence. Basically saying that he's not a Hall of Fame fighter just because he lost to him, when he's claiming that he's one of the greatest fighters of all time. That doesn't add up. It ain't like Errol Spence lost to a trash fighter. He lost to one of the greatest fighters of all time. If it wasn't for Bud, Errol Spence will still be undefeated. You see, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you the greatest or one of the greatest and then say Errol Spence is not a Hall of Famer. I told you guys back then, Crawford actually came out when T.O. called him a monkey and said, it's crazy that it be your own people that be hating on you. And I thought that was odd because Crawford, when he was talking about Ryan beating Devin Haney, he never mentioned Ryan taking PEDs. He kept talking about Devin Haney getting dropped, how he lost, but he got up every time. He didn't quit. And he never mentioned PEDs. So it almost came off like he was shitting on him. And now he's doing the same thing he was complaining about to Errol Spence. It be your own people that be hating on you. Ain't that right, bud? Well, guess what? Even old media, as biased as they are toward the fighters on the Coincidentalist, even they are not saying Errol Spence is not a Hall of Famer, because they know that's BS. Since the Hall of Fame is full of fighters that Errol Spence compared to them is an all-time great, is the GOAT compared to them. Man, let's cut the BS. If Jake Paul retires today, he will enter the Hall of Fame. And I could guarantee you this, once Jake Paul retires, he will enter the Hall of Fame. So Jake Paul can be in the Hall of Fame, but Errol Spence can't be. Rocky can be in the Hall of Fame, but Errol Spence can't be when he's a real Rocky character in real life. Fighters who beat no one and lost to no one can be in the Hall of Fame, but Errol Spence can't be. You gotta make it make sense. It be your own people, though, that be hating on you. It's crazy, though, how you become the same thing you sworn to destroy. Crawford looks at anyone funny if they don't say he's the pound-for-pound king. Rightfully so. But do you really expect the Rays fans and old media wizards who created the New Hope order of disqualifying any fighter on the Coincidentalist from becoming the pound-for-pound king, you want them to say and do the right thing by telling the truth on who is the best in the world? Meanwhile, it be your own people that's hating on you. You not doing what you're supposed to do when it comes to the fighters on the Coincidentalist, giving the credit where credit is due, giving the fighters their flowers like Errol Spence, claiming he not a Hall of Famer. How the hell you expect them to say that you one of the all-time greats, top 5? I don't care if you beat Canelo or not. You're going to have to beat Usyk and Tyson Fury on the same night. They still ain't going to say you one of the GOATs. Why is that? If Crawford is not going to tell the truth on the fighters on the Coincidentalist, his own people, by giving them their flowers like Errol Spence, claiming he's not a Hall of Famer when he's been past that, then how you expect the Rays fans and old media wizards to tell the truth and give Crawford his flowers? If you can't tell the truth about your own people, how the hell the Rays fans gonna tell the truth about you? Forget about that. what do you think God's gonna do? What if he gives you a taste of your own medicine? How you gonna like that? Perhaps that's what Crawford is doing, since Errol Spence was saying the same things about him leading up to their fight and before that. But again, you don't kick a man while he's down, especially after you already got the upper hand. It be your own people that be hating on you though. But with that being said, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe below. And to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi TV. Peace out. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.